Welcome everybody to the Livermore Rotary Club. Thank you very much for being here on this last meeting of the month, themed San Francisco. Thank you for those who dressed up or at least have good thoughts about the city. Let's see. We have a guest. Her name is Holly. Where are you, Holly? Would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, before we have our song, I do have an announcement. Let me bring up my email from Carolyn. So Carolyn Siegfried is not going to be with us for about 7 to 8 weeks. Her daughter had a baby, which is great. I'm sorry, and there's going to be medical terms here that if my wife was here, she could find her email. Here it is. Okay, so she had her daughter had a son named Connor. He has a large, omphaloxily, okay, OMPHALOCELE. Does anybody know what that is? Okay, my wife, who's was a pediatrics nurse or is, told me that is where the stomach is like outside the wall. So, and there's a process in which, and the child was born several weeks, 32 and a half weeks. So the baby will stay in the NICU for several weeks, and Carolyn and Chris, her husband, are going to be there to help with the family. So I know we have a history in the club. We haven't done this in a while where people had children, but they have grandchildren. We used to like pass the hat and try to raise some money. What I'm going to suggest, and we don't do it right now, but maybe we could raise a little money over the next week or two meetings. And I thought maybe buying a Grubhub or Uber Eats card, something like that. We could send it to them and they could get food, to help out. They're down in Orange County. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so we'll start. If somebody wants to take the lead in doing that, that would be great. Somebody wants to volunteer, like, hey, let me coordinate that and get it down to Carolyn so that they can. That would be appreciated. All right, songsters, good to go.
Oh, we need help.
Okay. I've already medicated before I got here, so.
Okay. Joe, please come up.
It's for medicinal purposes only. Okay, so we've got a couple lines in here that have to do with water, right? It rained all night and San Francisco, because Janice made the song famous, I think, and she's from San Francisco. So this is for you and all the hippies out there. Okay, so we need help here. We need help you guys singing. Okay, is that all right? You could do that. Everybody knows the song, correct? Of course. Okay, let's move. Well, okay, here we go like this.
I'll be behind.
I know we're all organized.
Okay. No.
San Francisco. Ready to go?
Why don't we sing San Francisco?
Okay, help me. A busted black tonight, waiting for a train. Feeling tired and saying that I need. Think right to be some ground, just looking for the rain. But it's all waiting for rain. I will run out of my dirty left. I'm playing soft while my day sang the blues. Yeah. When you were 7 times, everybody's hands in mine. You sing every song I cry. Just another word for nothing but breathing. I can't hear anything. Bobby sang the blues. What's good enough for me? Good enough for me, and I run for my love, Kentucky, to the California sun.
I share the secrets of my soul. Through love and together, everything we've done. Bobby things kept me from the goal. One day I'm here to lead us. Away. She was looking for that home. And I hope she finds it. But I came home tomorrow. My finger yesterday. Friday goes tonight. Freedom just another word for nothing left to do. Nothing left me. Well, feeling good, one face like saying the truth. Feeling good, what's really enough for me. Good enough for me, and I'll be in the game.
Okay, this is your part, okay?
La la la, la 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 la, la 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 la.
One more time.
La da 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 da. La da 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 da.
Great to have all the.
Okay. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, guys. Great rendition. Especially with Michael's guitar. Really, it made a difference, right? And Stu's guitar too, but I know they told you not just to play in front of the strings, but the Stu was really playing, right?
Yeah, this is just visual.
All right, good comment. Trish Monroe says she loved me that Janis Joplin. All right, okay, the really important people here. Spur reporter today is Will. Thanks, Will. Spur publisher is Ted, a photographer. Irv is going to be doing a great job today. AV, Joel, double duty with being secretary. Our Zoom host and chat monitor is Jeff Youngsma. And today, Linda Stanford was our greeter. Thank you very much, everybody. Great job. Okay, Ted, if you could unmute yourself, thanks, and give us your thoughts.
Thanks, Glenn. Hopefully you can all hear me. I have several thoughts for today in the form of some quotes. The first, the further back you can look, the further forward you're likely to see. Winston Churchill. The next one everyone will understand. Some things are just too coincidental to be a coincidence. Well, Yogi Berra. Here's one that I like. The nearest thing to eternal life we will ever see on our earth is a government program. Ronald Reagan. Never tell your problems to anyone. 20% don't care and the other 80% are glad you have them. Lou Holtz. Pretend to be completely in control and people will assume you are. Steve Jobs. And then one I'm too familiar with, unfortunately, is you know you're getting old when all the names in your black book have MD after them. Harrison Ford. Hope everyone has a great day. Thanks, Glenn.
Thank you very much, Ted. Great job. Great job. All right, what do we got next? All right. Okay, I'm going to go to Zoom first. Jeff, do we have any visiting Rotarians?
Not that I can tell. Looks like everybody is a dues paying member in good standing.
Ooh. Okay, how about in the room? Any visiting Rotarians? Stand up, please, and be introduced. That's right. Without Sheila. Yeah, exactly. Just so you know, the greatest 90 minutes of your week is because Sheila makes it happen.
Okay, so we have two guests here from Brazil that are Rotarians, and Nicole and Herbert Costa, right? And I'll let you go ahead and tell us why you're here in Livermore.
Hi, you guys. Thank you for receiving us. I believe I spoke with you yesterday. I'm from Brazil, from Natal, the coast east on the corner of the Brazil. I'm ex-president of my club. And we are here to do a trip work And I made a specialization in Stanford. And my wife, Nicole, she's gonna introduce herself.
So thank you. Thank you for having us. We are very happy to be here, and it's a pleasure to share with you the lunch day. So I think that Herbert said everything. I don't know if you have some type of question. We are open to talk, to answer.
All right, welcome. And how long will you be visiting in this area?
3 months.
All right, well, you're always welcome. If you need,
What?
if you're always welcome to come,
Oh, thank you very much.
please come.
Okay, thank you.
You have one more, Roland?
Oh, no, but I just gotta take the mic because she has to sit down. This is Alex Bradley. She is an amazing Zone 7 water person. I'll be speaking today. I know I'm going out of order, but she needs to find a seat and get the little ticket going. So here she is.
All right, thank you. Welcome. All right, let me go back to Zoom. Jeff, how about any visitors?
None that I can see here. So if you are a visitor, quickly.
There
raise-
is
Go
one.
ahead.
Rania is with us again. Rania Sabo. So she joined
Oh.
us before and she's back. So good to see her.
Anything more?
Yes. Hi, nice to see you. Yes, I joined with my husband during the holidays, but my husband is usually in a meeting, so he cannot always be joining, but we're happy to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us, Rania. Thank you very much. Please, anytime.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, how about in the room? Do we have any guests? I know we have guests. Let's start with Ron over here. Ron's right in front of you, Don.
My caregiver, Jane.
President Splan, fellow Rotarians, I'd like to introduce Holly Bruce from Key Impact Properties. She was born and raised in Carmel and has graced Livermore with her presence for the last 19 years.
Yeah, welcome, Holly.
And she's a prospective member.
Yay. Got Dennis up here, Don. Don, you're going to get your steps in today.
Let's see, for the third week in a row, I'd like to introduce Don Sweeney, and maybe by next week he'll be a member.
Yay. There you go, Don. Any other guests? Debbie? Okay.
Very good. Well, this is the second time, or actually the third time I think Jim has been here. Jim Douglas from Primetime Entertainment. I talked about doing shows at Wente, but that's limited. He does shows all over Northern California and Southern California. So please, thank you, Jim, for showing up again, but next time come see me. Okay.
So Zoomers, Joel's looking into that. Is a camera stuck?
Yeah, it looks like it's working now. So
Okay, thanks, Jeff. All right, thanks. All right, announcement. So the big thing today is if you guys hopefully will indulge. So it's San Francisco theme. Some of you did a great job and we're going to hear from you. Others, but there's the Buena Vista recipe for Irish coffee. Hopefully some of you guys indulge. If you don't, like me, I don't drink coffee, so it's just Irish whiskey. But if you don't drink alcohol, there's always coffee. And Sonia made the slightly whipped cream. It's a very special how you have to do it, right? And there's sugar cubes and Irish whiskey and coffee. It's not, I understand Buena Vista does peerless coffee, but Pete's is. Okay, Mike. So Glenn is going to tell us about what sugar cubes were used for back in the 60s. All right, so first person I want to pick on is Christian. Christian, could you please stand up? So Christian came, I want to honor Christian because he's been such a good Rotarian and he supported the Rotarian Foundation so much that we didn't honor him properly, but now want to recognize you for being, is it +7?
+7, yes.
+7. So thank you so much. More importantly, he is here representing, so, you know, Michael and Glenn and Lynn Freeman, they're representing the counterculture. Well, Mr. Business Suit here, he is what you all rebelled against. Yeah, San Francisco financier, right?
I still work for a living, that's why.
All right, thanks, Christian.
Thank you so much.
All right, so let's got some I'm gonna start with Lynn in the back. Please stand. Awesome. So tell us about your outfit.
Well, actually, my husband and I were invited by our granddaughters to a Halloween party and we went like this and our granddaughters didn't know what a hippie was. But I was born in Berkeley, so I come by it honestly.
All right, let's see. Glenn, how about you?
So like, I used to be part of the establishment, man, but I just couldn't hang. So this is a lab coat that my colleagues at Sandia gave me when I moved from Sandia to Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory. And they said I didn't have the guts to wear it, but I wore it in my very first all hands meeting at which over 1,000 people attended. And amazingly, they did not rescind the offer. But this is a lab coat. And I just wanted you all to know that I'm very busy working on some designer drugs that I think are of relevance to this. So one is to an analgesic for hip pain. Another is a sleep aid. And another one is a wakefulness aid. I think we all need those. So
good job, Glenn. All right, let me pick on Alan Burnham. Alan. So he's wearing some Iowa. That's like in the center of the country, right?
Yeah, so
flyover state.
So a year and a half ago,
Hey, Alan, camera's right there.
a year and a half ago, my wife and I bought a building on L Street. It was kind of drab, and we thought, well, it needs to be dressed up a bit. So we decided, yeah, well, the color should be cardinal. It's a 49ers meeting color. I was also just completing my term as a adjunct professor at Stanford. But most important of all, it's the color of Iowa State University. And so now there were a couple perceptive people at my table who actually figured out what the relationship between San Francisco and Iowa State is. And I was just wondering if there's anybody else in this audience who is that perceptive.
There you go.
Brock Purdy. So in honor of Brock Purdy, I'm going to donate $40 to the Music Scholarship Fund.
Hey, Alan. Thank you, Alan. Okay, let me pick on, is there anybody on Zoom that's got anything they want to say about San Francisco? Or I don't see anybody dressed up unless you have your camera off and you are dressed up, but you're unwilling to show us how you're dressed up. Anybody? Yeah, I'll get to you. I'll just look on Zoom first. Hold on. Yeah.
I'm wearing my Joe Montana jersey.
Nice. Great, Jeff. Where are you? Stand up a little bit. Let's see the color. Yeah.
So yeah, with the 49ers, I've been a 49er fan for as long as they can be. And of course, Joe Montana was right and right in my wheelhouse when we were totally into it. And so we have if they're playing a home game, I wear the red jersey. And if they're playing an away game, I wear this white jersey.
So
Niners.
So considering that they're on their third string quarterback, is Joe available just in case?
I think he was at the stadium last week. So at Levi Center. So who knows?
All right.
Who knows?
Thanks, Jeff. Let's go to Irv. Irv, tell us about your the hat we get. How about the shirt?
Well, I guess in 2008, there was a visitation in San Francisco Bay of the tall ships. And if you were lucky enough to get a ride on one of the ships, you got a t-shirt, to wear. So proved I went there.
Great, great. Thanks, sir. Okay. Anybody else got anything else? Michael? Michael?
Right, quick. I went to elementary school in San Francisco, junior high school, Balboa High School, yeah, the City College.
Didn't OJ go there?
What's that?
Didn't OJ go there?
You went to Balboa, yeah. So City College, San Francisco State College, I drove cab while I was in college. I saw the Beatles twice, once at the Cow Palace and once at Candlestick Park. My father managed Union Square Garage. So when I was young in junior high school, I would park cars even though I didn't have a license. But San Francisco is my city by the bay. And I left my heart there. Okay.
Thank you. Good job, Michael. Yeah, show me your shirt, Mike.
Sure. This is the Flying Other Brothers. They're friends of Chet Helms, who used to run the Avalon Ballroom. And of course, I would hang out at the Avalon and the old Fillmore.
All right.
Okay. Avalon Ballroom was like $2.50. You could see the Airplane or Moby Grape and Big Brother, all three bands for $2.50. I worked at the Fox Warfield Theater on Market Street, and there was a house cop who was after he did his stint at the police department, he would come and be at the top of the stairs at the Avalon Ballroom, but he would also work at the Fox Warfield Theater where I was an usher. So I would drive over to the Avalon with him and just hang out. Again, it was a blessing to be able to be at the right place at the right time and experience that kind of music, which if you weren't there, you don't remember it. Or you don't remember it if you were there, I think.
All right, thanks, Michael. Okay, so and that lastly, my connection is I'm wearing a USF, University of San Francisco shirt, and that's because both my wife and my daughter graduated from the University of San Francisco. So there's a lot of affinity, especially at the end of the year when I'm told how much I need to contribute to the university, which I went to Santa Clara University. And the only thing I remind them is that the president of USF is one of my Santa Clara classmates, Father Paul Fitzgerald. So I do remind them that, Paul went to Santa Clara. Anyway, let's move on. Ronnie, stand up, pal. Stand up. Can you all see some of those photos? Ronnie got a pretty big award the other day. I mean, I can read from you. So Ronnie, I could see a resolution from the Senate. Oh boy, that's kind of hard. I mean, Joel, can you read those? That's I couldn't read them. Let's get back to it. There you go. But I think we all just want to give Ronnie a round of applause. You did a great job. Thank you for being such a good person and a good Rotarian. You go ahead, Christian. You want to run the show? Go ahead.
How happy does that make you?
It was a big surprise to me. I had no idea what it was all about. And Ken Mono from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints got a committee together and they asked me to come and receive an award. And when I walked in, I was like, oh my God. This Friday is my 61st birthday. So that was a surprise birthday party. So it was just incredible. I didn't expect it, but all glory to God.
Yep. All right. Great job, Ronnie. And Ronnie, the other thing that surprised me was that you weren't wearing a hat, because I've only seen you in a hat. All right, next one, Joel. All right. So this is I'm sorry we were a little late in announcing these things, but it just, the board just, well, maybe it was me. So we have to announce Gaud Mamula is the Rotarian of the quarter for the first quarter. Gaud already knows that, and he's in India, but we wanted to announce it. When Gaud comes back, and I think 5 to 6 weeks is how long he'll be gone, and we'll do something appropriate then. But then for the second quarter, ta-da, Niall. And I think everybody knows why, Niall, because of the monthly newsletter that he has been, I guess, publisher, editor, writer, all things newsletter, right, Niall? Right? All right, thanks. Congratulations. And Joel will, I don't know, you figured out the plaque or whatever the heck we do with the. In a couple of weeks. Yeah, we got. All right, good job. Thank you, guys. Next one, Pat Coyle. You want to do it, Pat? You're going to do it from Zoom, I take it?
Sure, sure. Next slide, basically, we wanted to give the club a little bit of an update on our this year's Rotary Year's District Grant, which is approved to support Girls Garage, which is a nonprofit design and construction school for girls and gender expansive youth ages 9 to 18. And some of you will recall when they presented to our club some time ago. So our $8,283 worth of district DDF for a global grant, for a district grant locally, results in a little over $10,000, almost $10,400 worth of funding in this approved grant. And they'll be finishing, the Girls Garage will be finishing their Eames Institute project and working on site to prepare for an install date in February with their advanced design and build cohort. We're going to be supporting them in that. And also their construction and community students will be building a 10 by 12 foot shade house. It's like a greenhouse, but with shade cloth coloring for Urban Health School garden at Verde Elementary. That's in North Richmond. So it'll be a redwood frame structure used by students and Urban Health to cultivate seedlings for the garden program there. And we're invited to tour the site to see the students building the shade house. And I should point out, Rotarian participation is required for these district grants. So we need to select from these dates that are shown here on Tuesdays. They're coming up here 4:30 to 5 p.m. up there in North Richmond. So just let me know if you'd like to make it and what dates work for you. And we can get a group of us to go up there and take a look at the girls working here. So I just wanted to give the club an update on that. Thanks, Joe, for getting the slide font a little bigger. That's all. Thank you, President Flynn.
Okay, so all of you have received emails from Joel, our club secretary, regarding some proposed amendments to the bylaws. What I thought I would do is, there's no need to set, we would like to vote on it at some point, assuming that's where people want to go. There's a few questions that I have, and I just can't find them. But I want to just give you an explanation. If you want to go to the next slide. So this is a circumstance that the reason the board suggested this change is it just, let me give you an explanation. So the board has 10 directors. 4 are elected and they're nominated by the past presidents, and they have 2-year terms, 3 and they're staggered. So 3 and then 3. And then there are 4 that are appointed directors. And there's what's called 6 avenues of service. And the way the rules read now is that each of the elected directors are supposed to fill one of those 6. And then the other 4 fill other positions. The suggestion here is that instead of having those 6 elected fill those avenues of service, allow the other 4 to fill in. In essence, have the other 4 maybe perform the duties of one of the avenues of service, and so that an elected director can fill another position that the club needs. And the reason for that, we ran into a circumstance where, and I don't want to talk about names, just that could not serve in one of the functions of the avenues of service. So it left me with, and to be honest with you, sometimes I wasn't really filled in by Ken that well, in fact, not at all. So it was left with me trying to figure out how to fill certain functions of the club. And I had people actually weren't even on the board say, I wouldn't mind doing that job. So what I did is I created a co-chair, and I named one of the elected people as the chair, but they weren't going to perform the function. The co-chair would. And I just thought that the board just thought that perhaps this is a way to address that. Maybe it's a one-time circumstance that we were dealt with, but I just felt that and the board agreed with this, is that perhaps if there's more flexibility in allowing people to serve a function that they really want to do, then perhaps the club would have more functionality and better service. That's the whole reason behind it. Next week, we can talk, I'll address some of the questions and we'll have more time to discuss, why it's wise or not wise. That fair? Okay, cool. Next. Okay, Yvonne, and you have a video or not? Do the video. Can you, while you walk up, go ahead. Oh, we know that guy. That Jay Davis? Oh no, that Jay Davis. That's definitely not Jay Davis.
Okay. All right, so that's probably easier in 2 minutes to give everybody a snapshot of it. I know there are a lot of people that are new to the club. They've never done this program before. But the iHouse has been around longer than 50 years. I was talking to Irv earlier, trying to figure out what year it actually started, and we don't exactly know, but we're working on it. And I will. Was it? The guess is 61 or 62, but I have a prize for anybody that can verify it. Yeah, yeah. This is a banana slug, but what makes it unique is it's 3D printed. My husband has a 3D printer. So if you would like a souvenir banana slug, and you can get me some documentation, and I know when it started and who started it, I would love to. But back to the program. So first of all, this happens on the 25th and 26th, and we have various ways that you can participate. We need drivers, for instance. So in the morning, we go up to Berkeley, we pick up the students. If you don't want to host, but you got a car and you can help us out in the morning, and you don't mind having, a visit with the mayor and the police chief and wine for lunch and a free lunch, then that would be a really good job for you. We do need drivers. If you can host, that is one of the biggest things we need, because this year, for the first time in 3 years, we're restarting the program. I have new people I'm dealing with in Berkeley. We have to tell them how many students we can host, which means I kind of need to get my act together here. I've got the mayor and the police chief and the ranch and the potluck place, but I don't have hosts yet. So there is a sign up coming around. And for those of you who are on line right now, I'm going to be actually sending a survey to Joel to send out so that we can get volunteers, because it's kind of weird with a hybrid meeting getting sign up. So I'm going to try it that way. Then for the potluck, I'll just need somebody to help with setting up the tables, putting on the tablecloths, and everybody brings a dish to pass. That's pretty easy, but I do need help there. And someone to pick up the sandwiches and bring them to the winery where we're going to have lunch. So there are lots of little jobs that don't take a whole lot. The hosting though is the real pro because the next day you also get to go up to Paul Banky's ranch, which is really something to see in the springtime. I'm hoping it doesn't rain too much because you really want to go there. So at the end, we take the students back to Berkeley. Many of the host families pool. So if you don't want to drive, usually people have room for 2 or 3 students in their car and they'll help take it back. So first and foremost, I have to give Berkeley a count. So if you would sign up there, and then the folks who are online, you're going to hear from me. And I think that is everything. Okay.
Thank you, Vaughn. Next slide, please. Sonia's not here, right? Okay, so remember, so tonight at Wood Family, oh, Debbie, go ahead. We need a mic back there. Hold on. It's not tonight? Yeah, okay.
You guys could not hear that? Okay, tonight at Wood Family Vineyards, 5 o'clock, we're gonna have wine and snacks to eat, and we'd love all of you guests to show up. It's a social. We do the last Wednesday of every month. So please come.
All right,
We want people to come and be there. Does anybody, are they going? Does anybody can you raise your hand and say you're going to be there?
Great,
Good.
great.
It's free. It's
Free, all
absolutely
free.
free. Yeah, so yeah, bring your friends, but we'd love the guests to show up too.
All right, keep the mic. Let's go to the next one, please. I'm trying to push through here. I think you're up next. Debbie, you want to talk crab feed?
Yeah.
Where we at?
Got the crab feed coming up. We've sold 25 tables. We have a bunch more we need to sell. We lowered the price to $80 per person, whether you buy a table or just one ticket. So let me or Kathleen know if you would like to have any tickets. Yeah, and that's March 3rd, Friday, March 3rd, and it's right here in this facility.
All right, great. How many more tables do we have to sell?
12.
How many? 15. Okay, 15 times 8. Diana.
Okay, I'm in charge of the raffle and auction. On your table, you'll see a form. If you've got something you'd like to donate for us for the raffle or the auction, or if you think you might, please take a slip with you. It'll be your reminder and get back to me. Thank you.
Great. Make this happen. 15 more. Okay, next slide. All right, next. So this is a reminder. Remember, Eileen Virgino came in last year, maybe during the late summer, and promoted the Violins of Hope, which is going to be playing at the Bankhead in like a week and a half, I guess, something like that. And remember, that's where the violins were saved from I guess Eastern Europe from well, unfortunately, Jews that were subject to the Holocaust. And so this group got together and saved those violins and have rehabbed them, I guess, for lack of a better word. And now they play them publicly. And we're very lucky to have them here in Livermore. So we encourage everyone, if you can, please go and buy a ticket. And because I'm sure it'll be wonderful, right, Alan? I'm sure it'll be wonderful, right?
Out already, so that Monday night or Tuesday night ticket.
Thank you, Beth. All right. Next. Okay, this is going to be a cool one. I know. So we're going to have this young lady who lives in Livermore. She's at the farmers markets on Sundays. She also does online. She sells fresh pasta. So we thought we'd have a local business person come and talk to us about how her selling something that I think all of us like, right? Pasta. All right. All right. I am introducing, Sheila's not here. Alexandra, if you could walk on up, please. Now, so I do not have your bio, but Joel, I thought you did. Would you? Sheila said you did. Okay, well, so let me tell you about, I can't tell you a lot about Alexandra. I'm sorry, I don't have your bio, but so Zone 7 is our water wheeler or wholesaler. You may not, I know some of you may get a bill from Cal Water or from the city of Livermore, or if you're in Pleasanton from the city of Pleasanton, or if you're in Dublin from Dublin San Ramon Services District, but they are your retailer. But Zone 7 is your wholesale. They actually secure the water for us for the entire valley. and then sell it to, like I mentioned, cities or a special district. That's probably enough. Come on up. And this is so appropriate. You know, we're in a drought, but we're not. So, but you're going to tell us the difference.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. As mentioned, I'm Alexandra Bradley. I work for Zone 7 Water Agency. I manage all the agency's communications, whether it's websites, social media, e-newsletter, press releases. If it comes out of there, it's going through me first. So let's see. Oh, this is not quite the one. I have it actually embedded in my presentation. So if you could queue up the flood update. And so today, normally I would talk just about water, and in the past, I've been to a couple different rotaries, and really we've talked about water supply. Unfortunately, I lost my water supply expert. We had a doctor in engineering who really handled the water supply topic because she was an expert. Unfortunately, she's moved on to another firm. So all you get is me, which is I'm a generalist. So I know a lot about a lot of things, but I don't know in depth. So I'm going to do the best I can if you have any questions, but hopefully I'll give you a nice taste of everything. So as I mentioned, I'd usually talk about water supply, the drought, which is, you know, the big elephant in the room. Of course, now we have this other elephant in the room, which is flood. So storm response. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with just a little update on our storm response, because while the sun is shining and you couldn't tell that 2 weeks ago we were all in crisis mode, 2 weeks ago we were all in crisis mode. There we go. So I just wanted to give you a quick update on our recent response to the storms. And does my screen happen to update? Because I'm still showing the board your policy. That way, so I don't have to keep turning my head. I'm not sure.
Mice need to work a little faster.
Sorry?
The mice need to
In-
the wheel a little faster.
On this one? Hmm.
The Zoomers are not seeing your presentation. We're seeing the club slides.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I need to close. Oh, you know what? I think I need to actually. There we go. And now I can see it too. Great. Okay. I think we might be okay because I can see it on this screen. Can the Zoomers see it okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Then I think we might be okay. All right. So if you could advance to the next slide, please. There we go. Okay. So as you know, we had a pretty significant storm that just occurred over the holiday weekend when everyone was kind of bringing in the new year and not wanting to worry about, potential flooding. But as it turned out, we got hit with a pretty significant storm. I think it hit everyone. We knew a storm was coming. We did not really anticipate, in terms of the National Weather Service and all of the local agencies, just how significant the amount of water we were going to get in a short period of time was going to be. So we had that intense storm activity that started around December 31st and really ran pretty continuously without giving us much of a break until about January 16th. We had record-setting flows in local creeks and channels. We were furiously coordinating with cities, the Department of Water Resources, as well as our emergency operations centers. I was working very closely with Livermore's EOC. So, it's all hands on deck. And our focus on Zone 7's front of things was really to look at emergency response to any flood channel issues and then assess more damage later, which is what we're doing now that we've got some sunny weather and not at the height of an emergency. So wanted to share a couple of things. Debris removal. There you go. Some of the things that are very limited. We're only actually, for an agency, we're pretty small in size. We're a dependent special district. So we're under the umbrella of the County of Alameda. However, by and large, we operate by our own policies, procedures, et cetera. Really, it's just our financial and our human resources that's still kind of connected to the county. So we kind of run our own show with on average about 9,900 employees is where we've been floating for the last couple of years. And that covers both our flood and our water supply operations. So we were in a pretty tight ship with very limited number of people. So on our limited flood crew, we had our maintenance manager out there and our flood guys who are like working in the heavy equipment. So you can see this, not real tech savvy. So I don't know exactly what that piece of big machinery is, but it's big and it's pretty heavy duty and backhoe. Thank you. And as you can see, we had, because the storms were such a deluge, we were getting brush and materials and these kind of reed, grassy plant debris that were collecting in the channels and then impeding the flow. So our guys were out there working pretty much 24/7. As you can see, they went well into the night removing that debris. So 45 cubic yards removed in Livermore alone, and then another 105 in Dublin. So making sure those flood channels operate as they properly should. Next, please. Also, because of the winds and then the muddy ground, we did have a lot of downed trees. So getting our crews again in there. This is our, Andy getting in there and chopping up that tree so that we can access the flood channels and make sure all of the things are working correctly. Next slide, please. And this is the season that we normally provide sandbags to the public for free. I already started advertising this well in October when we celebrate flood preparedness week. And we had a limited supply. I did see some people paying attention pre-storm coming and getting the sandbags, but when the things really started happening, there was a run on sandbags like across the Bay Area. So then us, along with all of the other agencies, were all kind of scrambling. Normally we offer pre-filled sandbags, which everyone seems to love because you don't have to do it yourself. But once the storm hit, those weren't available anymore. So we were offering fill your own, and we had our staff out there helping people, continuously updating. We would be getting new loads and making sure that supply was replenished. So we ended up giving about 6,000 worth of sandbags out to the public just during that storm period. So pretty substantial effort in making sure that people got those supplies that they needed. Next slide, please. And then again, inspections, daily inspections are conducted, making sure that things are, where we can make adjustments, like I mentioned earlier, pulling the debris out of the channels. We made those, but some of these things like the big bank failures, those are going to be bigger projects. We'll probably be getting some funding from the federal government through FEMA for flood emergency. So we're used to this. We kind of just got wrapped up with doing a lot of finishing out all of the repairs for the 2017 storms. So now we're ready to start a fresh batch of repairs. So never a dull moment. Next, please. And then this is our initial damage assessment. This is as of the 17th. So I read some internal reports and it has increased since then. But at that point, we're standing at about 95 bank damages and 39 other types of damages. So our crews will assess those damages. They get ranked by priority and severity, and then we'll go through the process of getting those all fixed. One of the challenges in doing those flood repairs is that we're very much regulated by many different agencies above us, whether it's state, federal. And so our time and when we can actually go and do those repairs is very limited because we can't do it when waters are running through those channels. So now, for example, sometimes you can get emergency permit applications through, but by and large, those are usually done during the dry summer months, which doesn't really leave you a big construction window. Next slide, please. And then my end of things, just making sure everyone knew about different things that were going on. So whether it was where to get sandbags, we partner with the local cities and recreation districts. So we don't operate any recreation activities on our own, but we do lease our facilities or our channels and drives and things like that, so that it is opened up for people to use this trail access. So in partnership with those recreational permits, we want to make sure that everyone knows that, with certain trails. And so there certainly were several trail closures. As you may know, Sycamore Grove was closed, I think just recently opened a couple days ago. So lots of closures we had to communicate about. Next slide, please. And we have a new, if anyone is interested, we just published this on our website, which is kind of timely. We invested quite a bit of money into this new trails and recreational facilities in the Zone 7 service area map. So this actually shows you where all of our channels are and where those recreational facilities are. So it's a nice little tool if you're looking for some new trails to check out. You can find that on our website and under your neighborhood. Next slide, please. And then one of the big points of confusion, I think, often is how Lake Del Valle is operated. And so Zone 7 does not own Lake Del Valle. It's owned and operated by the Department of Water Resources. And they have specific flood operations that they abide by. And those are governed then by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So when the lake levels rise due to runoff, what DWR then has to do by the guidelines that are written is release some of that into the Arroyo del Valle. Next, please. Which, as you know, during the storms was already running quite high. However, they have strict operational guidelines, so there's no wiggle room in there. It's, everything is metered and has specific management. However, DWR was looking at the existing levels in the channels and also downstream, and making sure that, to the extent that they could, meeting those management guidelines, that they were doing those releases in a time where, we had a little bit of breaks in the storm, so they tended to do those. And then DWR notifies us, and we maintain a list that we send out to any interested parties that are then interested about doing those releases. I think at this point, they have ceased doing any releases. And I just wanted to emphasize that the releases that are occurring, because Zone 7 does have a small water right in Lake Del Valle, and we also use it for partial local storage. None of that water that was going out, those were all flood releases and not Zone 7 water supply releases. So our water supply is sort of in a different bucket. Next slide, please. And then I'll just pause here if anyone has any flood related questions before I get into the water supply stuff.
Moderate for you. Alan.
You showed a map of damage, but it showed no damage in Livermore. It was all Pleasant and Dublin, and which means either nobody's gone out to Livermore to see all the damage, or else this is not a complete map, because the approach to the pedestrian bridge on Guncannon is being undercut, and if it's not fixed, the next flood is going to be a multi-million-dollar bridge replacement. So somebody needs to deal with that.
Okay, that's one of those, I'm not an engineer and I don't know that specifically, but I can look into that. And also this is not completely up to date as well.
So one of the reasons that you're not seeing as much damage in Livermore is Zone 7 doesn't own as many channels in Livermore. And the channel you're talking about is actually owned by the city of Livermore. If you want to know why does the city own channels, it's because back in the day, Zone 7 required concrete lining of the creeks. And the city of Livermore decided they wanted the creeks to be natural. Now, of course, federal, state, and regional regulations have caught up over the past 50 years. So now what was cutting edge 50 years ago is now the law. So if Zone 7 were to develop those today, they'd have to develop them just like the city did 50 years ago. But the city's aware of that one and a bunch of others. So yes, a lot of the channels in Livermore, especially the ones that aren't concrete lined, are owned by the city.
Okay, anybody on Zoom have a question? On floods? Yeah. Is that a yes? No, okay, let's keep going.
Okay. Next, PowerPoint, please. Oh, you can close, this one is done. If you want to close out of this one, it'll be the, I think the one titled Livermore Rotary.
Okay.
We have a hard stop at 1:30 or?
Just keep going.
I'll just talk faster.
Nice picture, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Rotary Club Livermore. Yep, that's the one. Yeah, I do. And next slide, please. if you can hit advance, I think it'll, there we go. So as mentioned before, Zone 7 Water Agency is the wholesaler. So we procure the water from various sources, mostly outside through the State Water Project. And then we treat and deliver that to City of Livermore, City of Dublin, City of Pleasanton, and also a little portion of San Ramon in the Doherty Valley. Next slide, please. We also do untreated water supply. All right. And if you can, there's a link. You know, I'm going to skip the video. I'll share the video with you guys later if you want to view it, just in the interest of time. Next slide, please. So this is, and if you can hit advance once, it'll give me the full, there we go, perfect. So this is a little pie chart of our typical water supply. So you can see 70% of the Tri-Valley's water supply is coming from the State Water Project. And so that's imported through the Delta from the Oroville Reservoir. Then we also have, I mentioned the small water right, that's our local water right in Arroyo Val. And our retailers have their own groundwater quotas. And then we have recycled water. And you'll often hear, you know, we're pumping groundwater from the groundwater basin. However, the reason why that's not seen in this pie chart is because Zone 7's portion of groundwater is actually State Water Project water. So we're refilling that groundwater basin during the wet years, and then we're pumping during the dry years. So that's why you don't see that as part of the supply, because that's already been accounted for in the State Water Project. Next slide, please. So that the previous slide was in a quote unquote typical year, which I'm a little bit hesitant to say because California doesn't have a typical year anymore. But this is 2022. So as you can see, this chart is a whole different ballgame. So we have in the orange, the Livermore Valley groundwater basin. So as I mentioned, we store water there during the wet years, pump it out during the dry. We also have sort of, water is more like having a bank account. And so Kern County Storage and Recovery Programs is another place when we don't have the room or the ability to store water in the local basin. We also have this sort of virtual bank account down south. So we put water in that bank account as well during the wet years. And then during the dry years, we can do water transfer. So we're obviously not pumping the water up from Southern California because that would not be feasible or cost effective, but we're trading with other people who, you know, are going to have the water, you know, they can pick it up down the line. So we're picking it up here and then someone else takes it down there. So that became a big bucket as well. Then we have the State Water Project, which is last year we received 8%, which is a much lower allocation than we would normally get, but that's typical in dry years. We were actually expecting a 0, and the State Water Project, which is run by DWR, they give us an allocation at the beginning of the year, and then that gets adjusted several times throughout the year as we know what the water year looks like. So that's really important to know, because last year we started out with a 0% allocation, and then that did get increased, but not by much. So our imported water last year and the 2 years prior was very, very low. We did have a small yield in Lake Del Valle last year. That's the Arroyo Val water right. That's only about 2%. And then I mentioned the water transfers. So that was pulling that water out from different buckets. And then we have what's called State Water Project carryover. And so that's kind of saving it for next year. And next slide, please. And so because we were in our 3rd year of drought, conservation was a big piece of the puzzle as well, because with all of our different buckets, we can only pump so much groundwater. We are the groundwater sustainability manager for the area, and we have to make sure that the basin doesn't go into an overdraft position. Otherwise, we end up being in the position where you're at in the Central Valley, where you have significant subsidence, which we don't want. So we also have to factor in other ways to get that whole water pie that we need for the demand for each year. So one of those things we did was we put out a call for mandatory conservation. And this chart shows here during the dry months. So in the summer, the water demand goes up significantly. And the reason for that is outdoor water use. We have lawns and landscapes, and those require a ton of water. So the goal was to really get people to cut down on that outdoor water use during the drought, so that we could end up meeting the demands for the Tri-Valley. Next slide, please. One of the things that we did on our end to kind of get us through the drought, when we initiated the emergency drought declaration, that enabled us to speed up some projects and do special things that we normally wouldn't have been able to do under normal circumstances. So we did a design build and got through a project very, very quickly as an emergency drought project. It was completed on time and under budget, which we're very proud of, and it increases system reliability, and it also increases the capacity of our groundwater wells and reduces the strain on our pipelines by lowering operating pressure. So we were able to get that off the ground, and that's already up and running. Next slide, please. And here's an illustration of the groundwater basin. So I mentioned we're the sustainability agency. We submit a plan every 5 years and then update that plan. As you can see, before Zone 7 was created, the district was created, the groundwater basin was not managed. So it was just pumped and pumped and pumped. And so it got to a point where it was in what we call overdraft. And so since Zone 7's inception, we've been sustainably managing that basin to ensure that it does not go into a state of overdraft, because once you pump too much water out of the groundwater basin, it becomes inelastic. So you can no longer get to that higher level that you've achieved in the previous year. So we don't want to do that. Next slide, please. And this, advance one more time. So this shows our state water project allocations and really how severely this affects Zone 7 in the Tri-Valley. I mentioned 70% of the water is coming from the state water project, but in the last 3 years of the drought, we've only been getting 20% and then 5% or actually, so that should be updated to 5 and 8. And as you see in this chart, 1986 to maybe like 2000, like, save for a couple of years, we were consistently getting the maximum allocation. But as you can see, as time goes on, that's not happening anymore. And in fact, it's getting quite a bit more reduced than it had in the past years. So we're relying very heavily on something that is now a not certain thing each and every year. Next slide, please. So where does supply stand now? We saw all this water. I'm hearing all over the place. Drought is over. We can put our lawns back in. Everything is hunky dory, but it's not, because we were so far in a deficit in all of our reservoirs and our groundwater basin that we've drawn from, that one storm is not going to be the savior. Now, certainly we're singing praises for the recent rains and we're very excited, but we want to be mindful that this is not necessarily the silver bullet, and really conservation needs to be a way of life. I mentioned the 5% allocation. That's what we have for this year again. So DWR will be updating that throughout the year. And we do anticipate that we may get a little bit more of a robust allocation. But when I say robust, maybe that's, an initial 10 or 15 or maybe 20, but that remains to be seen. So that should be coming out within the next couple of months. So we're looking for that. And then once we get that, we can kind of readjust, see where we're at, and look at what conservation we're going to require. But at this point, everything is still the same. We're still asking for 15% conservation. Next slide, please. The snowpack, however, that does look very promising. This shows, looks like we are 104% of our April 1st average, and then currently 184% of normal. So the snowpack is excellent. We had a couple of weird years in there where we got early snow, but then we got hot weather. So the snow melted kind of all at once and the ground was already really dry. And so it just poof, evaporated. It didn't go into the groundwater. It didn't get in the reservoirs. So weather still can be funny. So we're excited about that snowpack, but want to kind of wait out the rest of the weather for at least the beginning of this year. Next slide, please. Because as a reminder, last year we kind of started off the same way. We had these big storms and we were beating records on our average rainfall for the year. And then the tap completely turned off and we got no water for the rest of the quarter. So again, being mindful, like that could vary. I mean, here we are, like, I think it's 2 weeks of sunshine in the forecast, and who knows if that's going to be turning into 4 or 6 or 8. So just cautiously optimistic. We like to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Next slide. And I'm a big Steinbeck fan, so I really like this quote. It says, "And it never failed that during the dry years, the people forgot about the rich years. And during the wet years, they lost all memory of the dry years. It was always that way." And it is. So I can tell you, social media, that's exact. Everyone's, we got water, it's fine, no problem now. So, but in California, we have built beautiful urban, places in the desert. So we have to always be mindful of water and remember that it's precious. Next slide, please. So just a couple points on drought outreach and mandatory conservation. Next slide. So again, why it's important. We needed to conserve 15% in 2022. And thank you everyone for every little piece that you did. It all adds up and we did make our target. However, we're still under mandatory conservation, both at the zone 7 level and then also still at the state level. So we have to look to see what the state does. And precipitation remains to be unseen for the remainder. Next, please. So just some resources for you in conservation efforts, drought landing page we put together, and that has zone 7's resources as well as all of our retailers' resources and water use restrictions. Next slide. We also have tools for fixing leaks around the house and around your business. So if you have either of those, this is a good page to check out and just do some quick checks to make sure that you're not wasting water. Plus, it's costing you money. If you've got a toilet that's running, that's water and money literally running down the toilet. Next, please. And then I mentioned outdoor water use. 60% of our water use is outdoors. So we do still want to limit watering. In fact, a good rule of thumb, I haven't turned on my irrigation yet, and there really isn't a need to. And what you can do, you can have a water meter, which, those are fancy and it'll give you a reading. But a simple way to know if you need to turn your irrigation back on is just to stick a screwdriver into that ground. And if you can get it 6 inches in there pretty easily, then you're good to go. So it's just when that screwdriver won't go in, then you can turn the tap back on. And we also have, there we go, water saving rebates. So we really want to promote this. We just made it simpler to do the lawn conversion rebate. So now it's just $1 per square foot. There's no crazy calculations like we used to have. So that should be pretty straightforward for you guys. And then some of you may be in Cal Water's service area as well. So our rebates don't work for you, but Cal Water does have comparable rebates. Next, please. We have a YouTube channel for all kinds of resources. If you're wanting to do water efficient irrigation, add a smart controller, all that sort of stuff. Next, please. And then here are some more water saving resources. So I assume these slides will get passed around so you can access these websites. Next, please. And this I'm excited about. We do this every year, partnering with Livermore and Cal Water, and this is a really fun one this year. So it's an art, it used to be a poster contest, now it's an art contest. So students can submit any type of media. So if you have kids or grandkids or friends with kids, please do share this out. It should be launching tomorrow. And it is an art contest, and the theme is California natives. So we're having kids really trying to get creative to showcase how beautiful natives can be. So if you're getting rid of that lawn, put something that's not only beautiful, but is habitat sustaining. Next slide, please. And then some more resources. And I think we're done. Have buckets if I.
Yeah. So okay, we'll have one question, Niall, and then we're going to hand out some stuff, right? Niall, what do you got? Oh, we need a mic over there. Just hold on, Niall. Let's get a mic.
The slideshow on the screen was too small. Is it available online?
Right, so it'll be part of the spur report. Okay, Alexander, do you have some stuff?
Yeah, would it be okay if I
Go ahead by the mic.
do a quick quiz question? I only have a few.
Just hand them out.
Just hand them out? Okay. And then do we have anyone who has converted their lawn to not a lawn or is in the process? I have time. If you would like to promote your WaterWise garden or WaterWise garden in progress, come see me and I'll give you one of our lawn signs. And then I have shower buckets and some water conservation sponges. I unfortunately don't have enough for everyone, so you're gonna have to fight over them. Or come to one of our events. We hand them out there as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for staying over. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, Splend.
Yes.
Thanks